Blind date. Two words that strike fear into the hearts of even the bravest souls. Now imagine those two words when you're over 50 and haven't dated since MC Hammer topped the charts. Terror, right? Well, that was me 6 months ago, staring at a stranger across a table littered with breadsticks and my rapidly diminishing courage. She seemed nice enough, my date, if you discount the fact she brought her father. Yes, her father. Apparently, he was worried about her. She's a good girl, he assured me, patting my hand. Just a little shy. Shy? She brought her father to a blind date. My internal panic button was well and truly slammed. The date went downhill from there, propelled by a steady stream of unsolicited advice from Papa Bear and enough awkward silences to make a mime uncomfortable. The food was terrible, the conversation worse. My date, bless her heart, just sat there shrinking under her father's watchful eye. By the time we reached dessert, a gelatinous concoction that could have doubled as a stress ball, I was ready to fake a seizure just to escape. Thankfully, my phone chose that moment to erupt with a prearranged emergency call from a good friend. Gotta go, I announced with the grace of a gazelle and the relief of a man freed from dating purgatory. Blind dates, never again. Dinner dates, they seem so simple, don't they? Pleasant ambiance, soft lighting, the clinking of glasses, and the opportunity to get to know someone over a delicious meal. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, buddy, let me tell you, there was the time I went out with a woman who seemed perfectly normal until the food arrived. Then the food whispering started. Yes, she whispered, sweet nothings to her steak. Not to me, mind you, to the steak. It was bizarre and unsettling, like witnessing a culinary seance. I spent the rest of the meal trying to avoid eye contact with both her and the increasingly uncomfortable looking waiter. Then there was the soup incident. I was having dinner with a charming lady, everything going swimmingly until I took a rather enthusiastic spoonful of soup. The spoon slipped from my grasp, catapulting the creamy broth directly onto her pristine white top. Time seemed to stop. She stared at the spreading stain, her face a mask of disbelief. I could feel my cheeks burning hotter than the sun. Well, she finally said, her voice tight, that's one way to get my attention. We never made it to dessert. A walk in the park, romantic, right? Sunshine, fresh air, birds chirping, the potential for hand holding. It's the stuff of romantic comedies, until of course it isn't. Take for instance the time I went for a stroll with a woman who shall remain nameless, mostly because I can't remember. We were having a lovely conversation meandering down a tree-lined path when a rogue frisbee came hurtling towards us. Now, this wasn't one of those gentle floating frisbees. This was a high velocity projectile with a personal vendetta. It slammed into my date's face with a sickening thud, knocking her clean off his feet. I rushed to her side, horrified. "Are you okay?" I gasped, trying to stifle my laughter. He sat up, dazed, the frisbee marks still embedded in her face like some bizarre plastic mask. "I think," she mumbled, her words muffled by the swollen lip, "I've just been, frisbeed." The date ended shortly afterward, with me trying to explain to the concerned frisbee owner that no, her dog hadn't actually caught a human head. Ah, exes. The ghosts of relationships past. They linger in the shadows, occasionally popping up at the most inopportune moments like emotional whack-a-moles. And when it comes to dating after 50, those exes, they come with a whole lot of baggage. There was the dinner date where my companion spent the entire evening bad-mouthing her ex-husband. Every topic, from the weather to the wine list, somehow circled back to his supposed failings. It was like being held hostage in a 2-hour therapy session, except without the soothing background music and comfortable couch. Then there was the time I went to a concert with a woman who, mid-performance, decided to launch into a tearful rendition of hers and her ex-husband's song. It was it was so awkward, it was uncomfortable, and it made me want to crawl under my seat and pretend I didn't know the person belting out off-key love ballads 2 feet away from me. The moral of the story: exes are like emotional baggage fees, expensive, unnecessary, and best avoided at all costs. They say clothes make the man, but sometimes those clothes have other plans, like staging a full-on revolt at the worst possible moment. Case in point, the time I wore a new pair of pants on a date, only to discover, mid-conversation, that the zipper had decided to take an unscheduled vacation south. Let's just say I spent the rest of the evening strategically clutching my jacket, praying my date wouldn't notice my sudden lack of zipper integrity. She didn't, thank goodness, but it did put a bit of a damper on my usually dazzling conversational skills. And then there was the great shoe debacle. Dressed to impress, I arrived at the restaurant feeling confident and stylish, only to realize as I walked across the highly polished floor that my chic new shoes had morphed into miniature ice skates. I'm talking full-on Bambi on ice, can't stop, won't stop, sliding. I managed to avoid a complete wipeout, but let's just say I wasn't exactly going for the graceful gazelle look. Dating in your 20s, carefree, spontaneous, all about late-night adventures and stolen kisses. Dating in your 50s, a delicate balancing act involving kids, pets, and the occasional unexpected house guest. Like the time I showed up at her door, only to be greeted by her two teenage daughters, who proceeded to interrogate me with the intensity of seasoned detectives. So, what are your intentions with our mother? Do you have a stable job? Are you allergic to dogs? By the time they were done, I looked like I needed a stiff drink and a witness protection program. Then there was the dog park disaster. I decided to combine a date with a walk in the park with my beloved but overly enthusiastic Labrador Retriever, Sparky. Sparky, however, had other plans. He took an immediate liking to her. Well, let's just say it involved a strategically placed leg and a lot of embarrassed apologies. The first kiss. It's a momentous occasion filled with anticipation, butterflies, and the potential for fireworks, or in my case, the potential for a trip to the emergency room. Picture this: a moonlit night, a romantic stroll along the beach, the gentle sound of waves crashing against the shore. My date and I were having a wonderful time, the conversation flowing, the laughter easy. As the evening drew to a close, we paused, gazing out at the ocean, the moment ripe with possibility. And then it happened. As we leaned in for that magical first kiss, a rogue wave chose that exact moment to surge up, knocking us both off our feet and sending us sprawling into the surf. So much for a romantic moment. We emerged from the water soaked sandy and smelling distinctly of seaweed, not exactly the stuff of fairy tales. You know what they say, love can blossom in the most unexpected places, like, for instance, the frozen food aisle of your local supermarket. I was browsing the frozen dinners, trying to decide between vegetarian lasagna and something vaguely resembling chicken parmesan when I heard a voice behind me. "Excuse me, but do you know how long you're supposed to cook these things for?" I turned around to find a woman holding a package of frozen waffles, a look of utter bewilderment on her face. We struck up a conversation right there between the ice cream and the bags of peas. Turns out she was a recently divorced mom who had no idea how to navigate the culinary wasteland that is the frozen food section. We laughed, we swapped cooking tips, and by the time we reached the checkout line, I knew I'd stumbled upon something special. Sometimes love isn't about grand gestures or meticulously planned dates. Sometimes it's about frozen waffles and shared laughter in the most ordinary of places. Dating after 50. It's a wild ride full of unexpected twists, turns, and the occasional loop-de-loop. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. But you know what? It's also hilarious, because when you strip away the expectations, the pressure, and the fear of judgment, what's left is the sheer absurdity of it all. The blind dates gone wrong, the dinner disasters, the fashion faux pas, they're all part of the journey, and they make for some pretty fantastic stories. So, to all you fellow adventurers in the land of midlife dating, I say this: embrace the chaos, find the humor, and never ever wear new shoes on a first date. Trust me on that one.